Charles Manson, a name synonymous with one of the most horrifying cults in history, the Manson family. But what if I told you there's more to his story? That Manson wasn't just a troubled man who preyed on vulnerable minds. What if he was also a product of a dark government experiment designed to control the human mind? Today, we dive into one of the most chilling questions about Manson's past. Was he a subject of the CIA's infamous MKUltra mind control experiments? And if he was, how could the government possibly get away with using someone like Manson to carry out its sinister agenda? The MKUltra program. If you've never heard of it, it's time to wake up. MKUltra was a series of secret CIA experiments that ran from the 1950s to the early 1970s. Its goal? To explore methods of mind control, using drugs, hypnosis, and psychological manipulation to turn people into puppets, and all without their consent. And the most chilling part? It was all done in the name of national security. But what happens when these experiments go wrong? When the very people meant to be controlled begin to manipulate others? Charles Manson's life before the Manson family was anything but ordinary. He spent years in and out of prisons, often involved in petty crime and struggling to survive. But in the 1960s, something strange happened. Manson became more involved with people who were connected to the government. During this time, he was introduced to government-backed mind control experiments while behind bars. In fact, Manson was released from prison multiple times in the 1960s, despite his history of violent behavior. Why was he repeatedly freed, only to spiral into chaos again? Was it merely a coincidence, or could it have been part of a larger, more sinister plan? Now let's talk about MKUltra. Many of the people involved in Manson's life during this time were linked to various forms of psychological experimentation, and that's where things get interesting. Manson himself has been linked to LSD use and many other forms of mind-altering substances, which were central to MKUltra's experiments. Experts state Manson was one of many subjects in these sick experiments. Tom O'Neill's investigation in Chaos presents a startling theory. Manson's manipulation of his followers, using LSD and other psychological tactics, could have been a direct result of his exposure to these mind control programs. O'Neill suggests that Manson may have been trained to lead a cult, turning his skills into a weapon to control others. But let's step back for a moment. How is it possible that the government could have used someone like Manson, a man who would go on to orchestrate brutal murders, in such an experiment without any accountability? After all, MKUltra was supposed to be secret. The CIA didn't want anyone to know about it, and that secrecy led to one of the most shocking cover-ups in modern history. How could the government have carried out such a program, knowingly using people like Manson as pawns, and then simply erased all traces of it? The answer lies in the power of secrecy and control. For decades, the public was kept in the dark about MKUltra's scope. The government had the means, the motive, and the opportunity to cover it all up. So the question remains, was Charles Manson truly a product of MKUltra? And if so, how many others like him were created in the shadows, their lives molded by government experimentation? We may never know the full truth, but one thing is certain. When the government holds the power to manipulate and control minds, the consequences are deadly. Thanks for watching. If you're as shocked by this as I am, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with more deep dives into government secrets and the dark mysteries of history.